Welcome, everybody, to the fansofprowrestling.com Wrestling Fans Insight podcast. We're going to go over a little bit of Survivor Series War Games and other matches, predictions, a little preview of tomorrow night, what we're going to get. And with me, I'm your host, Brian the Hype Ballard, and with me is Will joining us as well. How you doing, Will?
Yeah, as we discussed before we went live, just kind of getting over the whole Turkey Day hangover. And yeah.
We do have a lot of that. And you guys may notice our numbers are a little smaller today. We've, some of the Tom Turkey syndrome kicking in with John and Carlos and Stampede, but they'll join us, on our next broadcast coming up. But Will, I'm glad you survived enough to jump on it, and myself as well. And it should be a quick little lineup today, but, hopefully we can give some people some insight on all the different lineups and maybe what to expect tomorrow night. I wanted to start out, and I wanted to just kind of get your overall gauge your excitement on tomorrow's night show, comparing to Survivor Series of the past. Where would you say you're at as far as on the fan level?
Honestly, I'm kind of sitting at about a 6 here. My biggest match that I'm really looking forward to is the female War Games. Yeah, I think that's gonna turn out really interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's the one that kind of snuck in there, and we'll jump into it here. But I would say I'm right with you. My excitement level, I'm like a 5-6, and I felt kind of bad about that when I was thinking about it earlier. And I was like, all right. I was like, but I think about, holiday Survivor Series, it always had that feel like, that Super Bowl holiday Thanksgiving feel, right? And I know we always used to like to watch it when it was on Thanksgiving late at night.
Yeah, I think part of it is they really kind of failed to hype this up like they should have.
Yeah, and I feel like it was built mostly around the main event Bloodline, War Games match. And
oh, for sure.
All the eggs in one basket, so to speak. And, let's go ahead and lead into that on that note. Cody Rhodes not having a match on the card as of this recording. So initial thoughts on that. Are you good with that? Not good with that?
I think it's absolutely freaking ridiculous. Like I get trying to push Saturday night main event and having to keep your stars on it. But why would you do, a premium live event and not include your main champion?
I agree. I think it would have made the most sense to have him in the War Games match if they were going to include him. I kind of glad he's not doing the solo title defense on this match because I think it would get buried behind the War Games match. And so I do feel like that's them maybe protecting their champion a little, but I think it would have been appropriate to have him in the War Games match, seeing how him and Roman have buried the hatchet a little and had a little bit of a team up prior to this. So I think it would have made most sense for him, in my opinion, to right at this point to maybe take the CM Punk spot. And we'll get into maybe what that could allude to, but I think it would make sense for Cody to be on the main event card with the War Games. Would you have rather had Cody in the War Games match, or would you rather had him have a title defense against Kevin Owens?
War Games match, because it would have implemented a lot of different angles. It would have opened up a lot of territory, and this is a dropped ball, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think also it would have been interesting. I know they're pretty loaded up, but we'll get to the main event. But I think there could have just been a lot of different characters in that main event. So guys, stick around. We will go over that in our final spot here. But if you're okay, let's go ahead and start in. I'll just start in with the Intercontinental Championship match. Braun Breaker in a triple threat defending against Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. So initial thoughts on this matchup, where it could lead and what it's going to look like.
Okay. This kind of just seems like bad timing to me with this match. We obviously want to see Sheamus get his flowers with being a Grand Slam champion, but it's not time to take it off of Braun yet. And Ludwig, it is definitely beyond time for him to step out and start doing more single stuff. But I gotta say it's gonna stick with Braun. He's gonna be the winner, and if anything, it should be a fairly physical and entertaining match.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to showcase a lot of skills. John, actually, your brother, he had Braun Breaker in his prediction as well. And then Stampede also went with Braun Breaker. And we are now joined by Carlos. Carlos, we're breaking into the first match. And did you want to give your prediction on the Braun Breaker, Sheamus, Ludwig Kaiser match?
Definitely Braun Breaker.
Yeah,
I think if it was going to be Sheamus or somebody else, he would have just kept the title on Jey Uso.
Yeah, and I'm with both of you guys. I think it's a clean sweep here for the team. I'm going with Braun Breaker. Ludwig Kaiser, I think, takes the pin, right? Because we aren't going to make Sheamus lose straight up. And I think at the opening, I think this could be an opening match unless they've announced otherwise. I think a quick triple threat IC title match is a great.
I think they usually start with War Games, though. They usually start with one of the War Games.
Split them up a little bit.
Yeah,
I could see that as well. They do like to do that as far as bookend. Let's move ahead to the next matchup. Since you mentioned it, let's go into the women's War Games match. So on one side of it, we have Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Naomi, and Io Sky versus Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. Carlos, let's start with you on initial thoughts of this match, how it was built, and then prediction.
You know, I want to give a shout out to a new friend of mine, Mr. West. He was in our space on Monday. He's from Australia, and he made a good point. Like if they had wanted to do 2 War Games matches, this one should have been the White Six versus Final Testament and The Miz. You know, because again, storyline wise, it just feels thrown together. If I'm being honest, but at the same time, it is what it is. I mean, again, anytime the women get a spotlight in a big match, I'm going to be a champion of that. But to me, it just feels thrown together just to have a women's War Game match. I'd rather have seen storyline wise it'd be the men. But being said, I think the faces win this match. I don't think we get a turn or anything. I'm interested though because people kept mentioning Tiffany cashing in. I'm like, that'd be dumb, but she could do it after the pinfall. So just interesting what they could do with this match.
Yeah, I'm with you. The sports chatter mentioned that he almost forgot this was on tomorrow night. So I'm glad you're with us and we were able to remind you. And hopefully it's a good show for you to enjoy. Thanks for the comment. You know, I'm with you on that. To your point of the Final Testament and Wyatt matchup, I would have liked to see maybe that even in a classic Survivor Series match on the card. I'm a sucker for that. I would have loved to have seen those two factions just go at it in a traditional style elimination match. And I'd like to see one of those a year. So ultimately, though, I am going to side with you on the Rhea Ripley's team winning. I think that this is a little bit of her revenge spot. I believe that we could get down, especially, you know, everybody's going to be counting down for her and Liv to get back in the ring after the car accident, we'll call it. Will, your thoughts on this one?
This is definitely going to be Rhea's team. Like I said before, it's certainly going to be probably the most interesting match of the night. It's time for Rhea to just come in, decimate all, and honestly, it would make sense after this match for Tiffany to cash in.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because that was where I wanted to go next with you guys is we get a Tiffany cash in possibly. Could it be a swerve and not necessarily a cash in on Nia Jax? Could it be on Liv or another champion in that sense? So overall thoughts.
Go first, Will.
Honestly, anything she can do to try to get away from Nia Jax at that point would probably be the best move. But you never know. She could take Nia Jax out. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see this match.
I'm with you guys. I wouldn't mind seeing a Tiffany cash in a War Games match. It's unique. I think I'm ready for her to, you know, get that title or that Money in the Bank briefcase off of her. I think it's kind of ran its gimmick, so to speak. One of our followers on the comment here, Tiffany is getting held down big time by Nia. I agree with you on that. And I think, you know, we can move ahead a little bit in the story. They can still have their revenge match. And then another of our followers cannot wait for tomorrow. The card looks like matches are going to be amazing. Carlos,
for everyone listening to, I just want to remind you guys, it starts at 6:00 tomorrow, Eastern, 3 Pacific. It's an earlier start time. So make sure you're aware of that. So again, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 3 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow it starts. I think I don't see her cashing in on Liv. I think the story. Honestly, I think they're going to drag out Liv and Rhea to WrestleMania, and I think it's going to be Tiffany and Charlotte at WrestleMania. So I think she cashes in on Nia if she does it.
Does she do it tomorrow night?
Why not? Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. And then that's the way she's champion, and then that's the way to introduce Charlotte back to coming after her. I don't know. I think maybe tomorrow night it would make sense to me.
Yep. Yeah,
but they could also wait for Saturday night's main event because that'd be a good time. That'd be a nice pop for that first show.
It would be. You'd have a Cody our world champion on there along with a cash-in opportunity.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to get buzz for the show.
Yeah, there's a lot of options they got, and I feel like Survivor Series is going to start, like we said, WrestleMania season. Our teammates, Stampede, have Rhea's team winning, and John also has Rhea's team winning too, so it looks like we're all aligned there. Let's go ahead, if you guys are okay, let's transition to United States Championship match. LA Knight versus a returned Shinsuke Nakamura, recently returned. Kind of the same gimmick, but doing a little bit of what he did a couple years ago when his return. Will, let's start with you on a prediction on this one.
Okay. First, I just want to say this is kind of a ridiculous match. I only say that because Shinsuke Nakamura, one of the most underutilized talents in WWE. He has deserved any kind of a major title run for the longest time. And as much as I would love to see him come out the victor, I think it's going to be LA Knight.
And our listener, Galvin316, agrees with you. LA Knight getting the win. So does Stampede. He agrees LA Knight. And John actually going in a different route with Nakamura getting a win and possibly a title run here. I am going to go with the majority so far. I do believe that this is just another bump in the road for LA Knight. I believe that we could see maybe, a little bit of a crook finish, a count out, something like that keeps this, newer, fresher feud going a little bit into a Saturday night's main event. But I think this is just going to be a taste of what's to come. Carlos, your thoughts?
I think for prediction wise, I think I'm gonna predict it's a no DQ. I mean it's a DQ finish or something like that. I think LA Knight wins but it'll be like by DQ because that way they'll continue to feud.
Yeah, it seems a little early. A lot of people were saying that this is a little rushed, almost like they just needed something real quick for the United States champion. But I think it's just going to be the story that will ride him throughout the year until Rumble comes. So, all right, moving ahead, we got the World Heavyweight Championship. And Gunther looking to defend against Damian Priest, being thrown back into the title picture. So a couple questions for you guys, not just analysis in who wins, but is this too soon for Damian to go back after his title? Carlos, can we go ahead and start with you?
What's your question again? I'm sorry.
Prediction on the Gunther Damian Priest match.
Gunther.
Is it too soon for Damian Priest to go back after his title?
No, because I think at the end of the day, he'll look strong in this match. Again, they want to present him as a main eventer. I think we maybe get Damian and Drew at WrestleMania. So I think they're just trying to present him as a big star. Again, I just hope we get back to badass Gunther and not chicken shit Gunther because I cannot stand the way they're presenting him. He needs to just be the ring general. But no, I don't think it's too soon. I mean, again, I think it's just one of those things where they're just trying to get a filler until they get to CM Punk, to be honest. And again, I think everyone just is worried about only thing people really care about in this card is Bloodline. So the rest is just kind of filler.
Yeah, I feel like they did throw this in here. Davey Stampede, our co-host, he is going with Walter, aka Gunther, and then John also with Gunther. I will say, I do think again these are kind of the bump in the road matches. It's interesting just from my perspective. I feel like they threw Damian back in here, but I don't like the fact they threw Damian back in here to lose. But I also don't want Gunther to lose his title. So, because I think it's too early for that. So ultimately, I do predict that Gunther retains. But to your point, Carlos, I think they just kind of are trying to figure out what to do with him. He was the lawnmower that was tearing through everybody all the way up until, he got the big prize, and then they just kind of were throwing a couple different people at him, etc. Will, let's go ahead and get your thoughts on this one.
I do actually think that this was done too soon with Damian. Being that he's turning face, there's got to be a certain amount of build-up for him to have his shining moment again. So, like you said, it's just kind of a bump in the road filler match. Obviously, I'm going with Gunther.
So it looks like we definitely are aligned again on that. Davey, actually, listen in here. Gunther has been pretty stagnant for the last several months. Yeah. We've seen so much cool stuff with the Intercontinental Championship and then the world title build. And then hopefully, we see a good Mania run for him, and we'll kind of lay some ideas out there. The big thing on this card is always been built around the War Games match with the men. I feel like that was we talked a little bit prior in the beginning of the show. Will and I, Carlos, were talking a little bit about how they left Cody off this card, but would he have gotten overshadowed by the War Games match if he had a one-on-one title match? So right now, the War Games match as it stands is Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, the Usos, and CM Punk, the original Bloodline CM Punk, versus the new Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Big Bronson Reed being added in. So, kind of start out overall thoughts. Is this the right participants to be in this matchup? Let's go ahead and start with Will.
Honestly, I don't think they needed to throw Phil into this, and unfortunately, it is what it is. It would have been better to actually have Cody in this match instead of CM Punk. I'm going to go with the OG Bloodline on this one.
OG Bloodline. Davey has the old Bloodline beats Temu Bloodline. I love that comment. Ultimately, Carlos, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I think the thing with Cody, it's not about the match being overshadowed. It's about money. That's all WWE is about. And again, me and Brian both have stocks, so we can dog on it, But it's like, that's what it's about. So for them, it's just about trying to charge these ridiculous ticket prices, and then they can, not having Cody on here, but keeping him for Saturday Night's Main Event. It just justifies that feeling like a bigger deal. And honestly, I do like this. This is something I wish like AEW would even do, especially when you're doing like a pay-per-view every month. Like not everybody has to be on every card. Let other talent get a chance to be on the show. So I like it. I don't think Cody needed to be in it because I think you want to just move him on from this, but it could also be a swerve, for maybe, because I do think Cody Rock versus Roman is a match for Mania. But I think it's just a break. And again, they're trying to get KO. They're just trying to get different things cooking and just break Cody away from this a little bit. I don't think he would have been overshadowed. I think what's going to happen here is I think Seth Rollins interferes, and I think he goes after Bronson, but he hits CM Punk instead accidentally. And I think this starts this. I think we get the slow heel turn of Seth Rollins is my guess. But I'm going with Temu Bloodline in this one.
Yeah, and I like the thought of getting Seth Rollins involved. I know myself, I would have liked to seen Cody in the CM Punk spot, just because the history of it made sense with him and Roman recently burying the hatchet, calling on him for a little bit of help, and I think the world champion could have been in the War Games matchup. And I get that, a lot of different things are going to come out of tomorrow night. I'm sure, they're going to give us a lot of different looks and storylines. I always say Survivor Series starts WrestleMania season.
I think part of it too could have been that Kevin Owens resigned. And since he resigned, now they're going to, we're going to put you in a main storyline now. So maybe it was supposed to be Cody, but because KO resigned, they pivoted.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, Bronson Reed being in there just kind of throws me a little for a loop. I don't know who they could have summoned into that spot, but I like the idea of the new Bloodline versus the old Bloodline, but we have a few extras added in there that aren't a part of the group.
It should have just been 4-on-4.
And I would have been okay with that. I know there's the rules and people think it has to be 5-on-5, but I would have been okay with, just because it was so catered to the Bloodline storyline.
Yeah.
and I would like these guys to be related. But go ahead. Yeah.
In NXT, I was always 4-on-4.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And, ultimately, too, there was a rush to get CM Punk in there. What do you guys think is going to be the Paul Heyman factor on this one?
I think Paul Heyman's going to align with The Rock eventually. Because, I mean, especially if The Rock is going to be around for another year. And again, I forget who I heard say this, but, I think it might have been Jeremy on Fightful. Having The Rock be there, when having Paul be there, he can be his advocate while The Rock's away. And he can do the talking for The Rock, and kind of have The Rock be the leader of the new bloodline. Because eventually I think they kick Solo out and then The Rock's the leader. And I think that's when they bring in the other brother. And so it's like, I just, that's what I think. I think it's just a swerve. And I think eventually Heyman turns on all of them and he goes with The Rock.
As far as predictions here, John, I just wanted to add in, he's going with the new bloodline. Davey is also going with the old bloodline. Carlos, you're going with new bloodline. And then Will, refresh me, you're going with, was it new or old bloodline?
OG bloodline.
OG bloodline. So we're evened out. I am going to go with the original bloodline just for the mere fact that I feel like Roman's got to get his win back from a couple PLEs ago. And so I feel like that's kind of going to sway me a little bit, but I could see it going either way and pushing the story forward. Paul Heyman's an interesting factor on this one, as you're kind of mentioning. And, I think there's going to be, ultimately aligning with The Rock or swerving in some format. He just popped up out of nowhere and added CM Punk in. And I think that's, we could see even a Punk heel turn in that sense. Paul Heyman being added just raises more questions than it did answers. I would have liked to seen The Rock in this match, added in with, either Cody or whoever. But, I feel like, Dwayne's not going to come around until absolutely necessary if he decides to. So overall thoughts on this one? Any other additional?
I think The Rock could still be in there. I think maybe, you could easily injure Tonga Loa, and then The Rock inserts himself in there. Because people were pointing out that he put something on Instagram saying that his Instagram Live, that all his commitments to Mona 2 are over.
Yeah. I'm going to also say is Jacob Fatu, is he still allowed traveling internationally? I know that was a thing a couple years ago or a year or two ago.
They got him in Canada. He was at the other show in Canada. Okay. Triple H worked his magic, so he can at least go to Canada.
Okay. Yeah, I knew there was a thing with that, so I thought maybe that could have been your angle playing in. We get into some legal aspects, which would cause the final boss to come out. Carlos, I gauged in the beginning of the show here with Will, just overall excitement for this year's Survivor Series. We were at like a 5-6. Will was at a 6. I was around a 5-6 on a scale of 10. And, I'm waiting. Sometimes that's not a bad thing, and I'm pleasantly surprised. But where was your excitement, with this build-up going into tomorrow night?
A 4. I mean, to be honest, because it's like they get too much credit, but at the same time, like the thing that I want, again, I talk about this on our spaces all the time. WWE, they're not booking storytelling anymore; they're just booking for moments. So it's not so even like having Punk and Paul in the War Games doesn't make sense. But for most of the WWE fans, they don't care about that. They're just glad that we got Paul Heyman back and Punk's there. So it's not necessarily about whether or not it makes sense for them. It's like, ooh, the moment we got Paul Heyman back, he's back, and now you got Punk in War Games too. That's what the fans of WWE want now. It's just the moments. They don't care about the storytelling. I mean, you've had months to do this, and these matches feel all just thrown together. Like we said, you've given so much TV time to the Wyatt Sick versus Cross and Miz, and like I thought that too. Actually, the traditional Survivor Series match. It's like why isn't that on TV? It's just. But again, they're probably saving it for WrestleMania. It's like their first PLE is going to be WrestleMania. It's just about them. It's about moments and cash. That's all it's about. But also, I think they do this on purpose. So they undersell it because they know you're gonna attend, because again, Peacock pretty much is cheap. Everybody has it, so they know they're gonna have a big audience. So if they undersell it to you, they overperform. It's a marketing strategy.
And it has worked on me on a few of their shows. Davey, is that a solid 0 for the show with the potential to get up to a 0? So thank you for the comment there. I love it. The overall, I still would have liked to seen, like we mentioned, an extra match added. It could have been a classic Survivor Series match. I think, 6 matches on the card wouldn't have been bad. And I know that these War Game matches take a little longer, but I don't think they take as long as like the Royal Rumble or something that would merit a super small card. Overall though, we're all going to watch, and I guess that's the end of the day. They know we're going to watch, like you said, Carlos, and they know, it's on Peacock, it's accessible, and we're obviously talking about it. So, and at the point, even maybe we're going to hate watch a little bit in some cases. So, anything else? I did want to throw one more comment in here as far as the world title match that Davey had was, what if Goldberg comes out and attacks Gunther out of the match? So some alternate theories here. Would you guys like to see it go that route as far as Goldberg attacking Gunther?
I have no desire to see Goldberg anymore. I'm sorry, I'm just done with him.
I don't want to see Damian Priest as world champion. I don't want you to see him as champion. If he comes in and it causes a DQ, that's fine. For me, I'm glad to see Goldberg getting what Vince promised him, because Vince promised him that he'd give him one more match. Again, I think it should have been AEW. I think he could have done something there. But again, if he wants to be in WWE, that's his prerogative. I think he wanted too much money. But as a fan, as an advocate for the fans, for the talent, I'm glad that at least one promise is being kept, that he's getting this final match. But at the same time, I could really care less to see it, like William just said. But again, if it makes sense, do it at the Royal Rumble. I don't want to see him at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and what you alluded to is Damian Priest as champion. If they was to take that title off and give it to Damian Priest and take it off Gunther, just as we're entering WrestleMania season, that tells me a lot of what they think of Gunther. And that's just my opinion. But, I think he has done more than enough to earn himself a walk into WrestleMania as world champion. The title was, still being established, and he's held that pretty well in addition to all of his past work. So, I will be a little bit disappointed if they did choose to not make him a feature and make him more of a side attraction going into WrestleMania as a non-champion. We got, hey guys, from Jesse from Much Love from Ringside Renaissance Podcast. Could you see Seth Rollins taking out Bronson Reed and taking his spot to get back at the OG Bloodline and Punk? What are your guys' thoughts on that, Will? What do you think? And Carlos?
I don't think there's any chance that we don't see Seth get involved. He's always been a big picture player in WWE. It wouldn't make any sense to keep him out.
I think again, thanks for joining, Jesse. Thanks for the comment. I think that would be too obvious. I think it's a slow burn. That's why I think it'll happen. I think I think it'll happen like what I said, like he'll go after Bronson but accidentally hit Punk, because it'll start the ascension of him becoming a heel again. They got to do it again. They're going to do it slow. I think that would just be too quick and obvious for him to do that. But I do think definitely he is going to be turning heel.
Yeah, and Jesse, again, thank you for the question. Great question. Good answers, guys. So that is going to be, overall Survivor Series preview. Was there any other final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Nothing for me. I'm just going to kind of, get through it.
I'm good. Like I said, I asked for the day off because I was supposed to have some other plans, but then they got changed. So I'll get to actually watch this one. Again, I wish it was a different one that I was getting to watch, but again, it's free wrestling on television, and I'll watch it. And again, hopefully they get me to put my phone down. That it cooks like that much, because I'll always multitask if it's nothing I'm not too interested in. Definitely. But again, it's something on the holiday weekend. People are home with their families. Enjoy it. That's all.
Yep, definitely. Enjoy the show, and remember, you can always turn it off, turn it on, right? Like, so if it's just something so terrible, but
Like you can like my
ultimately,
post on X, while you're watching it.
what's that? Yeah, go in and check out with Carlos.
Yeah.
I'm sure Carlos will go. Are you doing a space after the show as well?
Yes, since I'm off, I'm going to do one. Yes.
So on X Space or Twitter Space, Carlos has been known that if the pay-per-view or PLE is going a little bit dragging, he's been known to start those X Spaces a little early, him and Stampede. So, definitely you guys can vent in that space. It's a chance for you guys to be a part of the conversation live. They do great work over there. We're going to head out. Go ahead and let's give our contact Twitter handles, Carlos.
At CCLOS77, and then at Conquer the No. And again, just thank you to everybody, like the DWE crew. Just a quick plug for them. They'll be doing a SmackDown watch along today. So just check them out. Final Boss Lady, Miami the Great. Again, check them out. It's a fun time. I just want to give them a big plug because they do support us, and everyone else who supports us on different spaces or different chats. Thank you guys.
Will?
At William Hoppy 8. And as always, just thank you to all you listeners. You guys really make this possible for us.
And mine is at the Brian Adkins. Ultimately, check out our fansofprowrestling.com community over on Twitter X. That's a great way just to connect with all of us, and you can touch base with us on X over there, of any of us to join that community. Thank you guys. Enjoy the weekend. Thankful for each and every one of you. Have a good night.
All right.
Oh,
How was the viewership?